emailed worldwide, don't do business with the city of Troy. What kind of intimidation is this? Troy has been described as xenophobic and backward, whatever that means. Yeah, you, the council, we're all here, you heard it. You witnessed all this slander and abuse aimed at our mayor and at some of her supporters. Through all this, no one on council stood up and said, that's enough, we've gone too far. There is a line between freedom of speech and abusive dialogue. Until last meeting, when a resident stood here to defend the mayor, suddenly some members of council were overwhelmed with righteous indignation. And Councilman Slater decided council should take some action. Is this the kind of impartial consideration that we, the residents, should expect from our elected leaders? One person supporting the mayor, and all of a sudden council wants to take action. And through all 10 months of this slander, look at the tape. See who the bullied and the bullies are. See where it stands.
Thank you, Mr. Savage.
Councilman Slater brought this to the table. Thank you.
Your 3 minutes is up. That concludes the persons who have signed up for public comment.
Oh, no.
On my list, I don't see anyone else. I don't have an ability to scroll. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my God. And I thought I was going to be able to go watch the debate. Wanda Monroe, resident. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Wanda Monroe. My last comment 2 weeks ago made headlines and much debate. I just want to say thank you to the Troy Patch and those haters of liberty. I was amused by the attention. But this is not about me. This is about the upcoming election, and we will not allow our election process of 2011 to be stolen from us. The majority of the people spoke loud and clear and chose Janice Daniels as our mayor. The opposition immediately went into gear, not only to smear the twisted truth into social scandal, all for the cause of to claim recall. Even last year, Councilman Slater stated to the Troy citizens' comments as crap. No one recalled him or censored him. The losers of the election have been on a tantrum binge since then. Mayor Daniels, I just want to say to you that the citizens of Troy do support you, and that the opposition can't handle this knowledge. This election is one of the utmost importance ever in our lifetime. On November 6th, we will remove Obama from office. We will vote no on the recall, and we will vote no on Proposal 2. We, the people, will show our strength in numbers to stop the bullying of these thuggish tactics of oppositions and unions. Enough is enough. Mayor Daniels, stay strong and vigilant, for God will carry you through this and bless this town. I claim victory for November 6th. Vote no on the recall.
Thank you. Nicholas Chericero, he's a resident of Troy. Good evening.
Evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. As all of you know, I'm a Troy resident for 39 years. I'd like to review the events of this last year very quickly. In August of 2011, there were already two candidates in the race for mayor. One was Robin Beltramini, who stayed in the race, and the other one was Mary Kerwin, who dropped out when Mayor Daniels entered. The obvious reason for her dropping out was her political opposition did not want to split the vote and then allow Ms. Daniels to win. The opposition was very upset when the mayor won anyway. As a result, they had to dig into her background in an attempt to find something derogatory that could be used to discredit her. The only thing found was a word in a private message on her Facebook account that was sent by them to the media and broadcast across the country. They then had the audacity to blame her for defaming the city of Troy. It was they who discredited the city of Troy by blasting it throughout the liberal media. They've also spent a lot of time at this particular microphone lying and bullying her into resigning, and still do even today. When that didn't work, they instituted a recall campaign, and that is dividing this city. Who are these recall activists? Are they socialists? Are they liberals? Let's just call them Democrats. How do I know they're Democrats? I personally witnessed our last mayor collecting recall signatures in the front of the library. She's now running for county commissioner on the Democratic ticket. I've also found out that a prior city councilwoman also collected recalls and is now running for state representative on the Democratic ticket. The recall is based on ridiculous statements. The big question is, why do they not want Mayor Daniels as mayor? What are they afraid she will discover? Could it be that she might discover how the transit center is tied to sustainable development, written into the city master plan and adopted in 2008? Could it be they don't want her to find out about the relationship of the master plan to the United Nations Agenda 21? I strongly suggest that all the citizens of Troy take a good look at both documents. Both are available on a computer. Read them carefully and see where these people are taking us. The mayor is a good woman. She's done nothing wrong other than win an election. We do not recall people for winning. This is not Wisconsin. We do not need a fiasco like they had there. If they are successful in this recall, they are brazen enough to try it statewide. This was verified by a statement made during a Blog Talk Radio interview on April 20th, while they were still collecting signatures. I strongly suggest that the citizens of Troy take a stand and vote no. I will.
Time is up. Thank you. Council has suggested that we should take a 5-minute break. Everyone seems to agree, so we will reconvene at about 9:07. Thank you. Seats. Could the audience please take their seats?
So these other people are not on that. Get off my.
Thank you very much. We'll continue with public comments. Manish Bakshi, he's a resident of Troy. Good evening, Mr. Bakshi.
Good evening, Mayor Daniels and City Council members. To me, you are a hero. I recently wrote a book called It'sEconomyStupid.com, 2012 Election Guide for John Q. You are protecting John Q. And I want to make it very clear to everybody who is present that there is a big fight going on today. And if people are paying attention, they will see what that fight is all about. The fight is very simple. The fight is between people who stand for truth, honesty, integrity, and protecting the interests of the taxpayer. Mayor Daniels, you exactly do that. I supported you for one reason. I knew you would do those things. I remember very clearly that despite the millage increase, the City Council voted to close the library on Saturdays. To me, that is terrible decision. For that reason alone, all of them who voted for should have been recalled, just like those people are trying to recall you, because they were acting against the interest of every taxpayer. You are the one who actually made that happen. And guess what? The very people who are trying to recall you and are fighting against you are blaming you and calling you what they themselves are, bigot, homophobes, etc., because they themselves do not understand free speech in a way what you actually represent. Let me talk about a couple more things. You are able to help us reduce the transit expense, which these people want to keep adding on to it. Today we have a simple choice. We can vote no on Troy recall and support the people who want John Q, the taxpayer, to be protected. Any single person who votes for the Democrat Party should remember one simple thing. They are going to do one point. The Democrat Party is going to do tax more, spend more, borrow more until they run out of money, just like Detroit and every other place on the planet where Democrats are ruling the majority. And this all issue has been created as a diversion for Democrats to take over and tax more, spend more, and borrow more to drive Troy into Detroit. I don't want that to happen. Anybody who is watching should pay attention. Everything else is a mirage, because these people who are Democrats and the people who have been fighting against you, like former Mayor Louis Schilling, Mary Kerwin, and other people, these people should not get any vote from a taxpayer who cares about their money, because all they will do is take money out of your pocket to fund their pet projects. That's going to be bad for the city of Troy. That's going to be bad for the city, county, state, and this country. You have made a model citizen of yourself. You are standing alone fighting for our rights. I want every single citizen to support hardworking people like you who take their own time to stand up. Thanks again for all the wonderful things you're doing, bringing more business.
Thank you, Mr. Bakshi. I'm sorry, I missed Britt Anderson, resident of Troy. Ms. Anderson? Next would be John Mikulek, a resident of Troy. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is John Michalak. I've been a resident of Troy for 27 years, and I just want to, my comments will be very brief. I support Mayor Daniels and her strong leadership. I appreciate her standing for the citizens of Troy and for its well-being. What I've seen is that the opponents have a strong voice, and they're strongly opposed to her, but their arguments are weak. They're personal and vindictive, and they present nothing that's worthy of a recall. I'm voting no on the recall, and I'm encouraging others to vote no also. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jim Werpetinsky, a resident of Troy.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City staff, residents of Troy. They say you should start with a joke, but with the climate being so toxic in this city for the last several years. I don't think anybody's got a sense of humor. Anyway, I have some remarks. I wrote them down. I'm going to read them because 3 minutes goes by pretty quickly. Before I begin, let me congratulate Mary Kerwin upon receiving her Distinguished Citizen Award. Although Mary and I are on the opposite ends of the political spectrum, I know her to be a fine woman, and I respect her, and I'm very happy for her having received that award. I'm not here to advocate for or against the recall proposal. As far as the recall ballot question goes, at this juncture, I am so sick of the divisiveness in this city that I quite frankly don't care if it passes or fails. What I am concerned about is what happens on November 7th, the day after the election. We have the opportunity to reinvent Troy as a united city, and in the divisiveness that has consumed the city for far too long, we can seize the moment if the Hatfields and McCoys of this city can come together in peace and harmony. For those not familiar with what goes on in the city of Troy, that would be the Trust and TCU organizations. Many people in the city don't seem to understand that diversity, which they claim to value so highly, is not just ethnic diversity, but applies to diversity of thought and opinion as well. There are many amongst us on both sides of the chasm who would not only don't respect your opinion, but they would seek to even deny you from having an opinion at all. And by the way, I am respectively including the council in my assessment. I am imploring both the Hatfields and the McCoys of the city to refrain from being sore winners and sore losers, regardless of the outcome of the recall election. You need to learn to be gracious winners and losers. In case any of you are unaware, sore winners and sore losers exhibit a definite lack of class. But more importantly, if you fail to be gracious winners and losers, the divisiveness will continue unabated in the city of Troy. Some of you may seem to think that if the mayor survives, that everything will be hunky-dory. It won't be unless her opposition graciously accepts the reality of defeat and begins to work constructively with her and her supporters instead of against her. And likewise, the mayor must reach out to the opposition group for reconciliation. Some of you seem to think that the mayor is recalled, everything will be hunky-dory, and that we will have arrived at Camelot. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it ain't going to magically happen. In this event, the mayor's supporters will need to graciously accept the reality of defeat and begin to work constructively with the new mayor and her supporters, and the new mayor will likewise have to reach out to the opposition group.
Lee Nardi, resident of Troy. Richard Peters, resident of Troy. Good evening, Mr. Peters.
Council, Mayor, esteemed council, folks in Troy. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about America. For the record, George Bush and Ronald Reagan led to the deficit with their unpaid military expenditures. I believe that a positive America is an inclusive America. And we all want people to feel that they're included in this country. I feel it's important that we have a free and fair election coming up here in a couple of weeks. For that, we'd like to see no illegals voting or intimidation tactics, no buying out block votes, no Chad hopefully none of this obscuring Chad votes, whatever they are, no learning a foreign language or any other obstacles that hinders people's right to vote. I, for one, generally vote Democratic, but whatever the case, vote your conscience and hopefully you get out to vote. To paraphrase Thomas Jefferson, when it comes to free and fair elections, we're neither Democrat, Republican, or Independents, but Americans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ed Graychick, resident of Troy. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Daniels and Council. I support Mayor Daniels. I'm voting no on the recall. And the reason I elected you was because you were going to fight for the taxpayers of this city. I met you during the tax debate over the library. We didn't need to increase the tax on the library to keep it open. We needed to cut the budget. And I mentioned that back then, and we didn't do that. We didn't cut the budget. We have people on council that to me, some of these people on council shouldn't vote for some of these items because they, for instance, Mr. Slater, during that whole debate over the increase on the library, he thought it was crap that we were feeding the council because we didn't want the council to spend more money. We wanted the council to live within their means. And you called it crap, and you did not apologize. And now people, the last council meeting, the woman came up here, and you did censure her, I guess. And you never apologized for what you said to us, what you called the taxpayers of this city, because we were fighting a tax increase. To me, you have a double standard. The reason they're trying to recall you, Mayor Daniels, is what happened in Wisconsin. What happened in Wisconsin are the unions and collective bargaining. Most of these people here are with some sort of a union, and they're for collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is killing this country. We don't. They don't. When you collective bargain, you can't live within your means, and they're trying to make it. Proposal 2 tries to change our Constitution. And we can't. We're not going to be able to sustain that. We're going to fall like like California, like the big cities. Look at Detroit. In 1960, Detroit was a beautiful city. Detroit was turned in. They tried to turn Detroit into a model city, and look what they did. It was the Democrats. It was Lyndon Baines Johnson, along with Jerome P. Kavanaugh, tried to turn Detroit into a model city, and look at Detroit now. Look at Illinois, California. Those states are going broke. Wisconsin, Scott Walker won the recall, and you will too, Mayor Daniels, and Wisconsin's coming back. So you're doing a fine job. We don't need a transit center in this city. There's one in Pontiac, there's one in Royal Oak, they're building a new one in Dearborn. That money should go back to the federal government, who doesn't have the money anyway. They're borrowing it. So I'm glad you're still fighting for that, and keep up the good work. And then Michelle Hodges today brings up that she's going to help. I thought she said that they were going to fund the maintenance of the Troy Multimodal Center. Today she says they're going to help.
Thank you. Your time is up. Dan Brake, resident of Troy. Good evening, Mr. Brake.
Hi. I'm going to pile on, Mr. Slater. In that same outburst, you announced to us all that you were the police department's representative on council. I'm curious, could you tell all of Troy tonight, were you representing the Troy Police Department when you signed the petition to recall your own sitting mayor? I'll let you answer when it's your turn. I want to let you know, Mayor, that since the last meeting, when several of us called on all of your colleagues on council to let the public know where they stood, Dave Henderson came forward during that meeting, Doug Tietz, and where are you? Dave Henderson, I'm sorry. It was Dave who came forward then. Doug Tietz and Wade Fleming, in public statements since then, have announced they are supporting a no vote on the recall. I want to try to put a face on your opposition. It's easy to pick on you. You're right there. Your opposition, based on my review of the petition documents themselves, which are public documents available from the Oakland Clerk's office, shows that that self-same Mary Kerwin that we've been talking about all evening, along with Louise Schilling, former mayor, and former Mayor Gene Stein, who's in the audience here tonight, plus Bruce Bloomingdale, failed council candidate from the last election, gathered 350 of the signatures for the recall. They and their supporters, very familiar faces that we've seen here in recent weeks, no surprise that they're familiar. If you think about it, they're the same people that we saw telling us in February of 2010 that we had to vote yes on a 2-mil tax increase. They told us again in November of 2010 that we had to vote yes on a 2-mil tax increase, and that didn't happen. They got a resounding no, and that's what's going to happen in this election on your recall. I calculated the difference between the half-mil we finally settled on and have been paying now for 2 years versus where we would have been with that $2 million increase in 2010. In the 3 tax years, Troy taxpayers have kept in their pockets $30 million by not giving these leaders what they demanded that we have. And it wasn't just that they closed the library on Saturday. They promised us they would close the library completely if they didn't get the ransom they were demanding. That's who the opposition is. It's that $30 million, Madam Mayor, that is the goal of this whole campaign. Thank you for your thought.
Thank you. Next on the list is Brian Spillane, resident of Troy. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak before you tonight. My name is Brian Spillane. I've been a resident of Troy for almost 21 years, and I plan to be here for a lot longer, so I definitely have a long-term view for the city. I consider myself a fiscal conservative, and I understand, Mayor Daniels, you consider yourself a fiscal conservative as well. But unfortunately, besides that label, we have a totally different view for where the city needs to go. If you're a fiscal conservative, during the many hours of this discussion on the Troy budget, you would think that you'd had a lot to say about the suggestions and where the budget could be improved, where the famous slush fund that you mentioned over and over that would be available to fund the library. But as it turned out, you really didn't have much to say. You never did identify that slush fund. You didn't have any compelling or concrete ideas to make the city more efficient, to modify the budget. It seemed as though, to me, and if you read the transcripts, that you pretty much watched the city manager, who was an excellent city manager at the time, the budget that he put together, and that's pretty much what was approved. So, I mean, as the record stands, you had your opportunity. If you're a true fiscal conservative with ideas and suggestions for running the city better, that was the time to make them. And when you look at the transcripts, there's nothing there. So I invite any of the citizens of Troy to take a look at that. And I mean, that was the opportunity. So if you're a true fiscal conservative, the ideas should have been flowing left and right. They just didn't come. I'm also concerned about some of the issues that you pursue, and a lot of discussion I hear tonight is I think we all need to be focused on the city of Troy. We're totally off the board on talking about Democrats and Republicans and Wisconsin and the national budget. I'm looking for somebody to take care of me. I'm a Troy resident, a Troy taxpayer. I only want basic things. I want good, strong police force. I don't want to slash 30% like it's been done. I want firefighters. I want my streets cleaned. I want certain basic things. I don't want people going on a diversion and talking about marriage and other things that belong with my family, my church, my synagogue, or whatever. So on that front, Mayor, I feel you failed me, and for that reason, I'm voting to recall you, Mayor, at the November 6th election. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Linda Kaima. She's a resident of Troy. Good evening.
You're funny. Okay, as election day nears, we're inundated by so-called information. I say so-called because, as in the past, most of this adds up to be nothing more than garbage, such as the recall is run by the Democrats. I'm a Republican. Come on. As citizens of Troy, we're proud of our address and need to demonstrate that by fact-checking. With that in mind, let me just point to a few of the so-called facts on the No Troy Recall website. Mayor Daniels' positive impact, stating she's reached out to Troy employers and prospective new businesses, followed by a list of businesses coming to Troy or expanding in 2012. I met with her today for confirmation. She indicated in her short term of office, companies had decided to locate and expand in Troy to reinvest to the tune of $19 million. I asked for a couple of names and was told the entire list was on this site and that all have come to the city since she was mayor. Wow. But let's look closer. First on the list is the Monarch Project. Interestingly, this project was canceled in 2006. Yes, canceled. Facts, citizens, decide only on the facts. I applaud all the companies in Troy for their continued interest in our city in spite of the turmoil. However, everything listed on that page was in progress before Janice was elected. But it sounded good, didn't it? Another page, people say, states, quote, below are actual people's comments and not no Troy recall writing, end quote. These comments all came from the same article at blaze.com on the same day. These were not all from Troy residents, but rather from those under the names of Chubby, Midwest, Hippie, and Eyeball, to name a few. I would question if any of them were Troy residents. We're a community, and as such, we decide what's acceptable for us or not. This continuous onslaught of misleading information is reprehensible and an insult to the proud citizens of Troy. Let the citizens decide if this is misleading, lies, or just chalk it up to standard operating procedure for this group. Political signs are stolen every election. However, lately, someone's defacing the Vote Yes signs with black spray paint. This is a new low. Not only is this childish but criminal and can be construed as a bullying tactic to those that exhibit the signs. And this brings me to another of Ms. Daniels' behaviors that's gotten the community's attention and is downright embarrassing, not to mention shameful. It's been said you visited citizens and businesses displaying the Vote Yes signs and asked them to take them down, or have visited businesses and strongly suggested they post a Vote No. Based on what I've encountered from the likes of your group of supporters, I would hope this was not meant to bully. But I can't help but wonder how many businesses took down the sign in fear of retribution from the mayor or her supporters. Or was that the impression that was intended from the visit? Insistence and tears can have its advantages. Troy citizens do not want a mob mentality running our city.
Thank you, Mrs.
They want leadership. Vote yes.
Time is up. Excuse me. Let's have quiet. Ron Edwards. Mr. Edwards? Good evening.
Good evening.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Good evening, Mayor Daniels, City Council. I'm Ron Edwards. I'm host of the Edwards Notebook radio commentary, syndicated throughout Michigan and several cities across the country. When I think about this recall of Mayor Daniels, whom I've known for several years, the word hypocrisy comes to mind. They keep talking about bigotry and mean-spiritedness. Well, I know bigotry when I see it. I know mean-spiritedness when I see it. Mayor Daniels, you're no bigot. And even some of the comments that I've heard tonight, I've been sitting behind some people, I've heard words that rhyme with itch, a description of a certain individual or whatever. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. To recall the mayor at this time is not advantageous for your fine city. Detroit is a great city. Troy is a great city. Do you want it to become Detroit? You want to get rid of Mayor Daniels? Perhaps you can. Maybe you'd like the likes of Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick to take her place. That'll be nice and diverse for you. So have at it, but remember, when you dig a ditch for one, you're going to dig one for two, because you're going to fall into two, because I don't believe that the people that are trying to recall you, Mayor, are sincere in their efforts to clean up the environment, as it were. Because I can guarantee you that most of these people that are calling for this are themselves very bigoted in their attitudes. The people that are always hollering the loudest about bigotry, those are usually the most bigoted. Keep being who you are. I've known you for years for being a true conservative, a great mom, and the whole 9 yards. Are you perfect? No. But anyone who's perfect in this room, stand up and speak. There's no one that's perfect in this room. But they're making a big mistake if they throw you out. That's all I have to say. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ron Butterbaugh, resident of Troy. Good evening.
I appreciate the comments of the previous speaker. You did not make any reference to his residency. Is he a resident of the city of Troy?
No, he is not.
Thank you. I'm a 38-year resident of Troy. I'm a husband, father, and grandfather. I am a conservative Republican. The mayor's team has labeled me a diversity activist, a title I wear proudly. And it is unfortunate that the mayor chooses not to wear that same label. Tonight I want to speak about the Recall Janice Daniels movement. Mayor Daniels and her team have consistently labeled this campaign as a small group of dissident, liberal losers. But who is the recall team? Is Mayor Daniels correct? What is the truth? Well, last January, thousands of Troy residents became concerned about the mayor's behavior and disrespect for anyone and everyone who disagree with her and her political and personal extremist agendas. 2 Troy attorneys, both lifelong residents, decided to organize a citizens group to address these concerns. Hundreds of telephone calls and emails from residents indicated the breadth of the support and the need for action. Soon 2 friends became a couple dozen volunteers. This quickly doubled and the recall effort was formed. By the time the recall language was approved, the volunteers exceeded 125. They quickly and easily gathered 9,300 signatures, almost 20% more than signatures than votes the mayor received in her election. They represented the best and brightest of the city, Republicans, Democrats, strong conservatives, strong liberals, and independents with absolutely no political connection. They are of all ages from 18 to 92. They are teachers, police officers, auto workers, managers, professionals, city employees, housewives, and retirees. They represent the wonderful multicultural demographics of our city, every race, every religion, and every lifestyle. Even strong Tea Party members, some of whom admitted to making contributions to her campaign and then voting for her, became eager signers of the petition. Mayor Daniels, you can continue to call us dissident, liberal losers. Go ahead, be in denial, ignore the truth, thrust your hyperbolic statements, steal our signs, deface our signs, intimidate those who favor recall, bully all those who disagree with you, and claim all of this as a part of your First Amendment rights. The people of Troy know the truth. The people of Troy will speak at the polls. The people of Troy will vote yes to recall you.
Thank you. Next on the list is former Mayor Jeannie Stein, resident of Troy. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This evening, my remarks are primarily directed to you, Mayor Daniels, but they are intended to hopefully help to reestablish an increased future appreciation for our city by all of the residents of Troy and the surrounding municipalities. Last week, I attended the Distinguished Citizens Award banquet put on by Leadership Troy. At the event, 17 people from 17 volunteer and nonprofit organizations were recognized for their volunteer efforts in 2011-2012, assisting in areas of need in so many corners of our city. The grand finale of the evening was when Leadership Troy, not the Democratic Party, bestowed the Distinguished Citizen Award to honoree Mary Kerwin. We heard tonight that they recognized Mary for her exceptional service to over 20 organizations that are the backbone of our city, such as the Troy Historical Society, Friends of the Troy Public Library, Troy Youth Assistance, the Boys and Girls Club of Troy, the Troy School Board, and the list goes on and on. The evening reminded me of how Troy became so great in the first place, how it reached its pinnacle of success through the hard work, the devotion, the energy, and the volunteerism of the average citizen. And it struck me that the recall in our city November 6th is really an effort to recall those very leadership strengths and qualities and abilities in order to find our old and true community, a way forward for Troy. It's unfortunate, Janice, that you had to be subjected to your short term on City Council, but I believe your strengths and passions are different from what is required to bring the luster back to our tarnished city. And you can probably find satisfaction in other arenas. I think you tried to do what those people who put you up to running for the mayor's seat, I think you tried to do what those people who put you up to running for the mayor's seat wanted you to do. But they are people who aren't to be trusted, not even by you. They have been behind the scenes working to feather their own nests at your expense. You have been used. They've thrown you under the bus. On November 6th, when the voter turns his ballot over to vote yes for the recall, it's not only good for the city and the right thing to do, but good for you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Gordon Shepke, resident of Troy. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure to come up here tonight. I was in that meeting today with Linda Keimer when she came in to see, and I seen the way she tried to find the answers to her questions. And if you want to see how she conducted herself, you can look at previous telecasts of the council meetings and get a good idea. And you stood your ground very well, and I was very proud of you in there. You know, this election has been an election of a lot of misinformation. I've heard a lot of misinformation at the mic up here tonight, and unfortunately, you didn't seek any youth out to come and try to change anything that they had on their mind. They came to you on an open session at the community center to talk over their problems. And I think there were 9 adults in the room at the time, so we all had a pretty good idea of what happened. And even though some of the charges were made against you because of that meeting, the one young girl retracted them with I think a 5-page letter to you, an apology. And I just hate to see young people either used as a pawn in any kind of a process. You know, in the back of our money, we have something that says "E pluribus unum." That means many gathered together as one. Basically, that's the meaning of that, and that's the way that's the only way as a city, as families, as cities, and as a country that we can exist and gain our greatness back again. Divide and conquer isn't the way a nation or a city becomes strong, and there's just been too much of this in our city. One group against another group, one race against another race, you know, a house divided just cannot stand, and what we need to do is start working together. And a lot of this divisiveness by the same people that are blaming you for things, they're spreading this all over the news medias across the country, trying to not only discredit you, but discredit Troy. And to me, that's a slap in the face. And it's a slap in the face, this recall, against everybody that got off their backside and went out and voted in the last election. They pushed themselves away from the TV set and got out there and expressed themselves at the polling place. And I think that this recall, to me, if it was for something of very meaningful, but innuendo and misinformation that's been going on around out there, every time I hear it, it just makes me shake my head. You know, this isn't the America that many of my relatives fought and died for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shepke. Next on the list is Kay Shepke. She's a resident of Troy. Good evening, Mrs. Shepke.
Yes, and it's the first time I've ever come up here. I've been a resident for 42 years, and I support you. I've already voted no recall on my slip, my absentee ballot. And I want you to know that the city of Troy is kind of a laughing stock, and it's not because of you. It's because of this recall committee. People that I know that live outside the city, when they come and they ask me, what's going on in Troy? They're laughing. They think this is a joke. It's not a joke. And we need to have you because people in Troy don't realize that we are going into debt. And I want everybody, all the citizens of Troy, to go on the City of Troy website and go on Downtown Development Authority and see how we are going into red the next 5 years. In 2013 to 2014, $610,000. I didn't write it quite. It was a little more than that. And every year that debt goes up, up, up until at 5 years, 2017 to 2018, we're at to $3,406,000 in debt. And I know that you are trying to make a budget to keep the city above the debt, that you're trying very hard to keep the taxes down, to give the services that the citizens want, and to keep us out of debt. And I know that is why you voted down the transit center. I have a friend that went on the train. She was in her own home, went on her computer, bought a ticket to go on the train from her own home, had her husband drive her down to the platform. She stood there, got on the train. I don't understand why we need this big fancy transit center, but although it's already going through. I just want to let you know that I do support you, and I ask all the citizens of Troy to go and look at the downtown development and the things that they are spending money for. The park on 16 and Rochester Road that we paid over $2.5 million for, that nobody uses, that all that money was spent on there. There's not even a place to park a car. And who wants to go and walk on that little trail and sit on those benches when you got a million wires going over your head? We got to be careful how we spend our money, and I appreciate you for being the mayor, and I just pray that everything goes well for you. Thank you.
John Witz, he's a resident of Troy. Good evening, Mr. Witz.
Good evening, Mayor Daniels and City Council. A couple things. One, I want to applaud, the people who say they are not Democrats who support you for giving a round of applause to Mary Kerwin. I just thought that was, again, the type of spirit that we need in this city, no matter how you vote. I go both ways. I go both ways. I'll just say it right out there. I'll vote for the best candidate. I'll support either party. I voted and worked with the county executive on many occasions, and I voted for Democrats. And, I think it's important that we vote for the right person, not always necessarily the right party. I do support the recall, and I want to say something about the recall effort. This is not something you see in communities across Oakland County or this region. This does not just happen. It's never happened for mayor in Troy's history, so it's not like the effort, it's not like you've not created a concern where more people who voted for you actually signed this petition. That's not the efforts or the result of a small, disgruntled, group. They don't have that kind of power. I don't have that power. Nobody has that power. These are actions, that you've done. The homophobic remarks, I don't think necessarily are grounds for recall. The efforts, to block the transit center, I don't think are necessarily grounds for recall. I do think what those things caught my attention, but it was really the 9 pages of lies that you wrote about the past city manager that, was really sealed it for me. And it becomes a combination of all the things. And to me, it becomes a combination of the fact that you don't realize that you won by a small margin. And when you win by a small margin, you should govern for everybody. If 80%, if you won by an 80%, situation, then I could see you, just representing those that, supported you. I want to mention too about the comments of it just being Democrats. My entire soccer team, parents, many Republicans signed the petition. The basketball team I coach for all my kids, and all the parents read enough about it, and they wouldn't just sign it on the first time. They researched it. They read into situations. It is a fact, unlike what people say, that you've brought negative, reputation, in media. Journalists just don't come looking for these things. You actually, it's your actions that, that earn this, situation. I do hope that if you, if the no's do win, that you realize that a message was sent. In this whole process, you've shown no humility, no thinking that, hey, maybe I've not handled myself, which again is another reason why I think you need to go.
Thank you.
Please vote yes, everyone.
John Kalu's resident. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John Coolez, and I am a 41-year resident of Troy, and I am one of the people who created and have run the Recall Janice Daniels effort. Mayor Daniels, in the past, you have gone on at length to argue that America is a representative republic. You believe that our elected officials should not represent not only the best of our citizenry, but should be scrutinized for competency and honesty. In the spirit of honesty, I ask a simple question. Are you being truthful with your justification of conduct in office? For those who don't know, election law permits you 200 words on the ballot to explain why the recall is unjustified. How do you choose to justify your behavior? By offering the flimsiest of excuses. You accuse the recall volunteers of lying. You claim that prior councils treated the charter whimsically. You claim that you were investigating our former city manager. You claim you opened the library on Saturdays. You now claim that you are keeping your promises. Mayor Daniels, would you not have the people of Troy believe our own eyes and ears? We read the newspaper accounts in which you dismissed Troy's charter as whimsical. We watched the council meeting when you ignored the pleas of the business community and refused to support investment in this city. We heard your disparaging remarks about minorities, embarrassing Troy on the national stage. We followed your attack on city employees and your agenda to replace them with unqualified cronies. We watched you vote no on the resolution to open the library on Saturdays. In a 2011 editorial in the Oakland Press, you stated that your game of preference is politics and that you believe that a person should not cheat to win this game. It's cheating to tell the public things that aren't true in order to win an election. It's true that we are a representative democracy. Every election, voters go to the polls to select that person who represents their community. And if we are to be represented by one person, let that person be the best of us. Let that person offer apologies when they've done wrong. Let that person promote civility and respect. Let that person seek unity and truth. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, but on all of these counts, you have failed. You are not the best Troy has to offer. We can do better. And doing better begins on November 6th with the people of Troy standing together and voting yes to recall Janice Daniels. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the persons who have signed up to speak. Next on the agenda, under council referrals, we have Councilman Campbell's request for further discussion regarding the recall process. Did you have anything else you wanted to say, Councilman Campbell?
What can I say? I think we've said it all, but we're people, the last time we brought this up, we kind of brought it to the podium. We kind of went over it rather quickly, and a lot of residents felt we kind of put it away too quickly. So this is basically everything's on here by dates, exactly what is going to be done if you are recalled. The dates that are put together by the attorney and also Lean. So I think it's very clear what's going to be done. It's not going to be any time where we do not have a mayor. It will be translated as of the 7th through 11th. And obviously, if you're not recalled, then this is all a moot point. So I think everybody, it's in there. So if anybody has any questions, it's been in the paper a couple times. There really should be no question what this process is going to be. If there is, you can certainly contact the city. We can answer questions for you.
Thank you. Were there any other comments? Councilman Fleming?
Well, just to add what Councilman Campbell has said, And I wasn't going to bring this up, but since it's a referral, I think we need to talk through it. Actually, there is a process, but I think there's a step missing, and I'll explain that. Basically, what this process does, if you read through it, it means that over a period of 30 days, we could have 4 mayors in Troy. We start out with Mayor Daniels, if recalled, and personally I hope that doesn't occur, but if that's what happens, we deal with it. There is a process. If the mayor is recalled and the mayor pro tem, again, this would step in basically for less than a week. We would have a meeting, the first meeting after the election, in less than a week. We would appoint a new mayor pro tem. The line of succession for that would fall to Councilman Slater if he accepts it. If he doesn't, it falls to me, and I can accept it or not, and it goes down the line. So that would be the 3rd mayor. The process for the 4th mayor, if you read through this, it's up to this city council, who are now a body of 6, an even number, to appoint a mayor while the mayor pro tem serves. But that's limited to 30 days. Hopefully we can work through a process and appoint either someone that's on the council or someone who has never served. I don't know. I don't have a name. We don't have anyone picked out. I'm telling you, this is not a slam dunk decision for anybody. We have to work through this. What's not listed here, and is a gray area, is that what the city attorney says is after 30 days, if we have not come to a decision as a council, as a member of 6, what happens? It's my understanding, it's a gray area, that the governor, though, in talking with our city attorney, that the governor could actually step in and appoint a mayor for us. Wouldn't that be lovely? That's the process, and that's what's missing here. That's a gray area. Not the mayor, excuse me. I said the governor. The governor would have to step in and appoint a mayor for us. I hope it doesn't come to that. What Councilman Campbell referred to and what you've seen in the paper, you've seen it, is a process. But I'm telling you, this process, at best, at least probably is 4 people are going to be serving as a mayor over a 30-day period. And we will work through it if necessary. But if we can't come to a decision, then the governor will decide for us. That's my understanding. And the governor portion wasn't on here. And I did talk to our city attorney about this and why it wasn't on here. And she said, Wade, basically, that's my understanding, but it's a gray area. And I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope this council can resolve that matter before it gets to that point. But that is a step that we could get to. Hopefully it won't come to that. Thank you.
Well, we're at the council comment section. If anyone does have anything else they want to say, Councilman Henderson?
Just take that scenario just one step further, and again, I'll reiterate the fact that I hope that we don't have to come to this situation, but in the event we select a mayor off of council, we then have the exact same set of circumstances in front of us to appoint, with a split council, somebody to serve on council. So this is a very complicated situation that we're going to be faced with, and easily 60 days out.
Mayor.
Councilman Slater?
I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think we should be promoting a chaotic city here. This is no different than if the mayor got ill for a month and the mayor pro tem would take over for a period of time. So I don't think we should lead the citizens to believe that there's going to be some chaotic city administration going on. We're more than capable of managing this city for 30 days.
We can move to reports. Does anyone have any items that they want to mention in the report section? Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis, I know that you attended the MML function and had some comments you'd like to make.
I did. Thank you, Mayor. I actually found the time to put together a brief synopsis of my opportunities that I had from attending the MML annual meeting It was on Mackinac Island. It was the 3rd through the 5th of October. The body of the meeting really was packed right into the 4th. They were trying to cut costs, so they put more of the activities in one day rather than space it out. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of the things that are available through attending these types of meetings. There are a lot of great materials, both printed materials that I brought back, and I also referenced a lot of the materials that are available to all of us on council or anyone else that's interested in looking at them that are on the MML website, so that you can actually see the presentations from all the individual sessions that were available. And then I also just passed out today when I came in a list of all the training that's scheduled in the coming months through MML. These are all things that we are able to sign up for, to attend, to participate in, and if anyone has additional questions, I am more than happy to be the MML cheerleader and to provide that information to you. I really appreciate the council allowing me the opportunity to attend the program. I'm learning great things, and I'm meeting great people, and I'm spreading good news about the city, and it's a great opportunity, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I also wanted to thank, I'm sorry, Councilman Fleming, go ahead.
Just to add on to Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis there, thank you for attending and for, I guess you're like a liaison person from the council to MML. One thing I would hope that we could get from MML, because we have been recognized nationally as the best place to live in Michigan, and the 26th best place to live in the United States, that hopefully, I know that MML has a publication, regular publication, the review that they do. Maybe you can put a bug in their ear and see if Troy could get on their list of cities to spotlight there, because they do choose cities to spotlight. It's read all over the state, and I think we have something to be proud of here. And maybe Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis could see if we could get some recognition in that publication. Would be great if we could. Thank you.
I will look into it.
Thank you.
Yep.
There are no study items, no closed sessions. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. Did you have another report that you wanted to talk about? Please.
Thank you. Just to draw attention to a couple of reports, excellent reports. One that's in the package, it's on item O, that's O2C, the Troy Transit Center status report. Mr. Miller, thank you very much. Very detailed report for you and your people to put together. If people want to know the status of the Transit Center, that's a good place to look and see where we spent, what we've done, exactly where we are, that we're on budget, that we've kept the expenses and so forth. And I really appreciate that. There's also several other reports, but one that I really appreciated, I'm using, even shared it with some people today that are looking to expand here in Troy, is a list of vacant commercial and industrial buildings that we have. It's overwhelming, but yet if someone wants to know if we have spaces in Troy for redevelopment and development, we certainly do. And so there's a complete list there that our tax assessors put together, and I found it very helpful today when I was on a particular street looking for a building. So thank you for that. The last thing I had was a report that was put together probably primarily by our Human Resources Department and our finance manager. Tom, thank you very much for the report on the employee retirements, the 5-year history, something that we asked a few months ago. This is the second step in the process. I found it very useful, maybe for decision making going forward. That's report that's O-9, employee retirements 5-year history. But probably will have some questions on it, other council people may do, but I think as a start that was an excellent report. Thank you very much. I know it wasn't easy to put together. It seemed like a simple spreadsheet, but I know there's a lot that went into that. So thank you very much for taking the time to do it.
Thank you.
That's it.
Any other comments? As I said, there's no closed sessions, no study items. So at this point, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining the audience and at home watching on television for participating in our legislative process. Have a good evening, and we hope to see you all again soon. Meeting is adjourned.